Good evening and welcome to the overnight edition of From Day One. Art Bell, as you can hear by the music, is warming up tonight, November 19th, 2015. Ralph Sarchie with Demonology.
Desert and the great American Southwest. I bid you all good evening, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you may be in the world. All 25 time zones covered like a blanket by this program. Midnight in the Desert, I'm Art Bell, and here we go with a brand new week. I have only two rules for this show. No bad language. Well, no really bad language, right? A hell or a damn, it can go if it's in context. Anything else? We don't need it. Only one call per show. That's it. That's all we allow. We allow one call per show. Now, I'm going to deal with something I hope finally and forevermore. You may remember the mouse in my studio that I called Abby Normal. Okay. I have had messages, emails, endless computer messages coming through the wormhole, and all of them seeing what ain't there. This is just, we live in an impossible time when if I offer you a ghost photograph or a UFO photograph, half of you will scream with some justification, oh, it's blurry. Well, you know, if you're in the presence of a ghost or a UFO or whatever, generally you're not in your normal senses, so you're moving around a little bit, right? And the other, now let's go to the exact opposite side. I never did get a picture of Abby Normal, but people keep thinking I did. It's driving me nuts. Here's Tina who says, Art, I just listened to the True Haunting show and took a look at the photograph that you took trying to catch Abby. I zoomed the photo 400% on my laptop, and there she is, hiding in the wires toward the back of the device you said you saw her on. Tina and everybody, that is not a mouse. That is what's called a ferrite. Abby had long since split. Now, to take the mystery out of it, I have just taken a picture of the ferrite as it exists behind the equipment, immediately behind. A ferrite is a device used to block RF radio frequency signals from audio wires. That's what it is. Now, when you get to 400% above zooming, I suppose it looks like anything you want it to look like eventually. But I put that up on Facebook so you can take a look. It is a very clear picture of a ferrite. Please stop telling me that's a mouse. All right. A police body camera recorded the father of a 6-year-old autistic boy, with his hands up, posing no threat as police fired into the car, severely wounding the motorist, killing the son. I don't know how many bullets he caught, probably about 5. Horrible, horrible. And I don't know what else you can say about that. They're out on $1 million bond, or no, they're not out. I guess the bond was set at $1 million for each one of these cops. Looks like SeaWorld's going to end the orca shows. If you want to see the orcas in San Diego doing their thing, you better get it done, because the killer whale act is going away. Now, they will continue to display them, but in their natural, I don't know how you could say natural environment, because a big tank, no matter how big the tank is not a natural environment, but closer. Do you have a pot belly? Everybody with a pot belly, hold up your hand. Can be a bad thing. Even if you are not considered to be overweight, new research suggests normal weight people who carry their fat at their waistlines may be at a higher risk of death over the years than overweight or obese people whose fat is, well, all over the place, you know, on their hips and their thighs, right? So if you have a pot belly, prepare for the possibility of keeling over sooner. Now, One more item. Experts have been squashing the idea of the Kepler Space Telescope that it has discovered an alien megastructure near the star, about 1,480 light years from Earth, almost as soon as the original story raising the possibility appeared a few weeks ago. Just because you don't understand what you're looking at doesn't mean it's aliens, chimed in ever so reasonable Neil deGrasse Tyson. Yeah, that's right, I talked to Neil. However, pointing radio telescopes at it has brought nothing. Now, I didn't expect it to bring anything. The chances of hearing an RF signal almost 1,500 light years away are slim and zero. I mean, I talked to Seth about that. So the fact that they have not heard anything pointing at that star does not in any way take away from the interesting possibility that that is an alien megastructure. Not at all, in my opinion. So, there you have it, but they didn't hear anything. No, hello, Earth, are you there? That would have been said almost 1,500 years ago for us to hear it now. Pretty unlikely, I would say. All right, coming up, a retired New York PD sergeant. His name is Ralph Sarchie. Worked out of the 46th precinct in New York South Bronx. That's got to be a rough one. However, in his other job that he calls the work, CIA, right? No. Investigating cases of demonic possession and assisting in the exorcisms of humanity's most ancient and most dangerous foes. Tonight, he will discuss his investigations into an inhuman evil that has never been explained, solved, or even understood. He has been schooled in the rituals of exorcism and is an eyewitness to the reality of the demonic. Sarchie hosts, in fact, the new Destination America series, The Demon Files, which premiered November 1st. So, coming up in a few moments is Sergeant Sarchie. And actually, I'm going to ask him a completely unrelated question first. And I'll let him think about it during this break. And that is, since he was a sergeant, he was a cop, why are people shooting each other? Cops shooting people, people shooting cops. Really a good question. Since he was a cop, maybe he has an opinion about that. I'm Art Bell.
And of course, for whatever segments you hear that are dead silent, it's because we had to remove the music for copyright reasons.
The clock strikes 12, and Midnight in the Desert is pounding packets your way on the Dark Matter Digital Network. To call the show, please direct your finger digits to dial 1-952-225-5278. That's 1-952. Call Art.
I'm not afraid to call the psychic treadmill repairman. I'm tired of being challenged about that. I just don't have a treadmill. Almost feel like I should buy one. I have a road. Shoe leather. God, I love sax. I really do. If instruments could cry, the sax clearly comes closest to it. There's no question about it. The song has always sort of spoken to my soul, if you will. Yeah. Great stuff. All right, here we go. Prepare yourself. This should be pretty interesting. And I would like to welcome you, Sergeant Sarchie, Ralph Sarchie, to Midnight in the Desert, which is the name of my new show here.
Well, thank you, Art. I really appreciate it. And please call me Ralph. I've been retired for 11 years now.
Okay, Ralph. But I bet you still watch TV sometimes, huh?
I do, occasionally.
All right. Well, you heard what I said before the break, and I really am starting to wonder about this now. In the old days, and I say that as in when you and I were working the last jobs we had, I guess this kind of thing did occur occasionally, but boy, there's been an awful lot of cop shoots person or person shoots cop, without apparent motive. I wonder if you have any thoughts on it.
Well, it's a good question, and I don't believe there's a simple answer to that, and I don't believe, there is a single factor. I think there's a lot of things attributing to it, things that we don't see. I look at the total breakdown of society as far as, any kind of spirituality is concerned. And I see God being pushed out of society more and more.
Yeah, it actually goes right into our topic, doesn't it?
Yeah, pretty much it does. Everything leads back to those roads. As far as I'm concerned, that's the way I view the world.
When did you and I last interview? Oh.
It was October of 2001.
Holy mackerel. Okay, back then I asked you about Father Malachi, and you and I share a trait. We both were friends with Father Martin, and I asked you about his death then. Boy, there has been so much speculation and talk about Father Martin's death. Do you have any further thoughts on it, or do you think as you thought then?
Well, I'm staying with the same way that I thought back, then. I'm not going to attribute his death to the devil, but the way I look at it is this. Just say, for argument's sake, God did allow that to happen. The way I look at it is Father Martin was killed because of his faith, his beliefs. Mm-hmm. Well, if that's the case, then us Catholics believe that he was martyred. He died because of his love and service for God, so he's considered a martyr. And that would probably be the ultimate reward for a man like Father Martin, the way I look at it.
Do Christians, when martyred, enjoy some benefit that, Muslims do when martyred, or similar benefit?
Well, I don't believe that, we have any kind of sexually orientated rewards at the end of time. It's more along the lines, I believe that there are levels in heaven, like there are levels in hell. And it is believed that the first level, the closest level to the beatific face of God, is reserved for the holy martyrs of the Church Triumphant. Mm-hmm. The next level would be reserved for the people that have lived their whole entire lives, in a chaste manner. Mm. The second level is out for me, but I could still obtain the first level,
Yes, but define that one again, please. Level one.
I'm sorry?
Define that one again, please. I'm trying to figure out where I fit in here, too.
The closest level?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Would be if you were in the service of God and you were murdered because of that reason, because of your faith, because of your spirituality.
Really?
Yeah, so, and the...
Can we go through some more levels? Because I'm not in there yet.
Those are the only two levels that I know of.
Oh.
I don't know of any other levels. I'm still on the journey myself, and I'm still learning. And my mentor is gone, so I don't have a way of cheating anymore and making a phone call and getting my answers. Mm-hmm. So now it takes me a lot longer because I need to pray on it. And, if I specifically look into certain areas, I will pray on it, and I will pray for the answer. And most of the time I get some kind of an answer. I'll be led to something, and that's the way I live my life.
Is that the way you did your job as a cop?
No, That was the total opposite of the spectrum. I worked in the 4-6 precinct, and I also worked in East New York, Brooklyn, which was what we called a police service area number 2. It was the New York City Housing Police at the time. And I spent 10 years in East New York, Brooklyn, and it was just as violent and just as bad as the Bronx is.
Wow.
And, unfortunately, I had to do things sometimes that wasn't nice.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't take pleasure in it.
I completely understand. I did a lot of ride-alongs. I was a police dispatcher in Monterey, California, so all my friends were cops. All my other friends stopped being my friends. And so I know of what you speak, and I don't know, if you had the right intentions, no matter what you had to do, probably you'll make the level you want.
Well, that's exactly the intention, the intent. I seem to be speaking a lot about that lately. That means a whole lot. Is our intentions, and you might be able to fool other people with your intentions, but there are really 3 people that you can't fool. You can't fool yourself, you can't fool the devil, and you can't fool God.
Uh-huh. That would make sense to me. Did you begin to get into all of this, though, through your work as a cop? In other words, did you began to see certainly bad people doing bad things, and then I suppose you began to see some things that were so bad that they had to border on the demonic. Did that happen?
Well, most people go off of the movie, when they try to figure out how the heck I landed where I landed in life. And, when I was a kid, I was very spiritual. I was an altar boy. I knew who God was, and I knew who the devil was. I just knew that they both existed. I don't know how, I don't know why, but I just knew it. As I started getting older, I didn't worry about God anymore. I found girls, and I was playing baseball, and I was living life, and I didn't go to church. I didn't think about God, not often. And then when I went into the police department, I started to see these things, and I started to react to things in a manner that I shouldn't have, especially after I got shot.
Mm-hmm.
That sort of changed my outlook on things, and I started to get a little more brutal.
How did you get shot?
Well, I was off duty, and I saw some guy running from a location. I live right across the street from stores, and I knew all the merchants in the neighborhood, and there was a family of people from Pakistan who opened up a store, and the people in the neighborhood were always messing with them,
Mm-hmm.
And I saw somebody running across the street, and he was dropping objects. And when I called out to him and told him, hey, you dropped something, he ignored me. He kept running, so I knew something was wrong. I chased him, and I caught him, and he appeared to give up. And I took my eyes off of him, and I had my gun in a shoulder holster, and when I was putting the strap on the holster, I took my hand off the weapon, and he grabbed it.
Oh, God.
And I immediately charged him, and I knocked him over there was a little chain to keep people off the grass, and I knocked him over that, and he fell down, and when I went to jump on top of him, he fired one shot, and it just so happened that it went between the trunk of my body and my right arm, and it just grazed my arm. And the second shot went into the ground, and they taught us in the academy to, if somebody grabs your weapon, is to grab the cylinder and the hammer and just hold it, and the gun cannot fire. It was a revolver at the time.
Sure.
And I still have the scar because I grabbed that weapon so hard that hammer went right into the palm of my hand.
Wow.
I didn't feel it, of course, at the time. I was, worried about not getting shot. So the only senses that I really had were my sight. I don't remember hearing anything. I don't remember feeling anything. All I remember doing is seeing.
Yeah. I wonder what they teach cops now with semi-automatics and 15-round clips.
Well, if you grab the slide, they're going to get one round out of it, and then the weapon's going to jam. But
good point.
You're going to burn your hands on the gases that are escaping from that round.
Yeah.
And you might not be able to hold on to it at that point. If you actually do feel it. Like I said, you sort of lose a lot of different senses, and certain senses only come into play, during a life and death struggle.
Okay, well, here's two things we could look at, Ralph, and I'd love your opinion about which is true, and that is that when you and I were young, there wasn't much senseless killing, either by the police of people or people of the police. There just wasn't much, people didn't walk up to a cop and assassinate him. It just was so rare as to not happen. I guess we have the Black Panthers, stuff like that, but nothing like we've got today. So you could either say, look, there's just more coverage of it. We've got these 24-hour networks, so we see this stuff, or something has changed in society.
Well, just for the record, Art, I'm still young, so that's the way I look at it. But I'm just kidding. I'm joking. But no, things have definitely changed, without a doubt, from the time that I was a kid to the time that I was a cop to the times that we're living in now. And we're only talking about, the way I look at it is about a 4-year span before everything just rapidly went right downhill.
Mm-hmm. Well, I recall talking to Father Martin all those years ago now, Ralph, and he was saying that there was hundreds of % of increase in demonic activity in New York, particularly, because that was his area, and that it was on the increase, and perhaps it's been increasing ever since he made that statement. I'm sure he told you the same thing.
Well, yeah, of course, I've seen it. And it goes back to what I said earlier. The more you push God out of society, and there is no denying that that's happening, there's something else that's got to fill that void. And the only thing that's going to fill that void is the devil. And the more you push God out, the more he steps in. And this isn't something that I haven't been expecting. It isn't something that Father Martin didn't speak about and warn me about, warn everybody about. He's been warning us since, he first appeared on your show.
Yes. All right. Well, here's something that I'd like to throw in, because I think it's important. Ralph, I spent a lot of years in my life in Asia, and I particularly spent a lot of years now, most recently in the Philippines. The Philippines is virtually, I think, 90% at least Catholic, something like that. And when I say Catholic, I mean the Filipinos are really Catholic. By anybody's standards, they're really Catholic. In fact, at Christmas time, Ralph, they start by putting the decorations on all official city stuff. In fact, they hang decorations on stoplights. It's all over the city. It's just decorated everywhere. They're a very, very religious society, and what they don't have is people killing cops. They don't have serial killers. They don't have these seemingly inexplicable crimes, murders. They just don't have them compared to the U.S. And so there's your difference, Ralph.
Yes, it's a proven fact. There are a lot of things that in this world that I believe are proven facts, but they're ignored because they don't fit with what needs to be done to bring about certain events. And I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. You know, the event of ushering in the one world religion and the new world order, which is a stepping stone to the Antichrist. And everything that I see going on, from religion to politics.
You said one world religion. What do you mean?
Well, you heard Father Martin speak about the Luciferian wanting a one world religion where, you know, it's basically the state that's telling you what you can worship and how you can worship. And it's not going to be the God that I worship.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you think that one world religion could be the devil?
Well, yeah, I would lean towards that because it's opposite of what Jesus Christ has instituted on this earth for us as his children.
Right. Well, he's got a long way to go to catch up to the Catholic Church, unless you think the church might be hostage to the devil. And we'll pick up on that in a moment. We're at a break, Sergeant. Hold on. I'm sorry, Ralph. Hold on. This is going to be an interesting interview. I suggest you prepare yourselves.
I can see her lying back in your satin dress, in a room where you do what you don't confess. Someday when you're better again, it's like
While midnight sweeps across America, you found an oasis for the mind. To call Midnight in the Desert, please dial 1-952. Call-ART, that's 1-952-225-5278.
Out across the country, it's always midnight when we're on the air somewhere. Hi, everybody. I'm Art Bell. My guest is Ralph Sarchie, retired New York PD sergeant. Worked out at the 46th Precinct in New York, South Bronx, and more. But he's not here talking about police work, except that I have sort of asked that he do. Joe wormholes me the following. Hello, Art. Would you like to comment on the alleged missile test as claimed by the Navy seen this past Saturday all over California and other states? Smells like a big cover-up from what you can see on the videos posted all over YouTube. Well, Joe, I think it was exactly what they said. There was a notice to airmen that went out before the test. They didn't make it public because it was classified. It was a Trident. In other words, it was a missile launched from a submarine. And, Joe, just so you know, I think it was intended to be seen not so much by everybody here on the West Coast who thought, oh, cool, look at that, as much as it was meant to be seen by Russia, by Putin. I hope you got lots of pictures of that. You know, they're really acting out an awful lot in Russia right now, and they're beginning to act like the old Soviet Union as much as they are our new buddies, Russia. So I think that Trident launch, and there was another one, by the way, earlier yesterday as well. So I think we're launching these as sort of a, okay, take a look-see. This is what we don't want. Anyway, Ralph, welcome back. And, you know, I made a crack going into that break about the church being hostage to the devil. And of course, that's a title of one of Malachi's books. But, you know, I've got to ask you, do you share the view with Malachi that the church had an increasing influence, a demonic influence, and I have no idea how far it's gone by now. Since that time, we went through a terrible period with the church, you know, with priests and molestations and all the rest of it. So what's your view?
Well, there isn't very much that I don't agree with Father Martin on, and I agree with him because he's presented his case very well to me, and the rest of the world as far as I'm concerned. And, we do know that the smoke of Satan has entered the cracks of the church. But even still, Jesus tells us, even through Scripture, that the church, the gates of hell shall not prevail against her. So, I live life in all optimism. I try to, at least. I see what's happening, and it's not a surprise to me. The only surprise to me is that it's happening sooner than I can have ever imagined.
I've got to agree with that. I think it's happening sooner, too.
Yeah, I wasn't prepared for it, to tell you the truth.
Right, I wasn't either. I've been very shocked at behavior changes in America. I guess maybe in the world, but in America, too. If you look around the world, of course, we've got the guys dressed in black, cutting off heads and that sort of thing. But right here at home. Okay, so do you think, Ralph, that possessions are still increasing in number? I guess that's a silly question, huh?
Well, yes, I would have to say so. At least the infestations and the oppressions are on the rise, and we have an increase in the occult. People, they're more interested in the occult. With the technology, the internet, we have more information at our fingertips now. And I think people, they seem to have more information these days, but they seem to be getting dumber. That's the way I see it. People are going into areas that they shouldn't even be thinking about.
I know. Which is not
a smart move. They're opening up these doors, and some really nasty stuff is coming through.
All right. As a guy who was a cop, I want to ask you a really, really tough question. And that is, if people are in fact possessed by a demon or possessed by the devil, shouldn't that be a legal defense in court? Yeah, I bet.
Well, I don't really believe that the court is going to believe in demonic possession, so good luck with trying to get around that one. Anything is possible. I don't really see the devil exposing himself.
All right. Let me make it harder on you.
Oh, geez. Okay.
Let's make it harder on you. Let's assume there's been a terrible murder committed, and that you were an investigator in that murder. And the guy who commits a murder claims he's innocent by virtue of possession. And you actually think that he was possessed because you do believe in possession. So let's assume that you had a chance to actually meet this guy, and you figured out that, yes, he does appear to be possessed. And so now we're at trial, and you're sitting in the witness seat, and the defense attorney is asking you, Sergeant, you do believe that possession is possible, right? Has to be a yes answer. Do you believe that so-and-so sitting right over there is possessed? That'd be a tough moment for you, wouldn't it?
No, I would tell him the truth. I would tell him what I felt. And if I felt that the man was possessed, I would tell him yes. And then I would tell him why.
And then the DA would take you away and have a really stern talk with you.
Well, it's possible, but I doubt it. Because if I come up with fact, and I can come up with other cases that are similar to it.
Okay. All right. Actually, that's a very interesting statement. If you come up with fact. All right. In any case that you can ever consider that you have been involved in, what are the facts that determine possession?
Well, we have signs that were given from the Roman ritual, which is the prayer book that the priest, the exorcist, will utilize And we look for certain signs like abnormal strength, knowing information that they couldn't possibly know, speaking in a language or a voice, that is not of the person.
Right.
Meaning they would speak a language that they have no way of knowing. And a very strong aversion to anything holy, like Jesus or the Blessed Mother. But in these days, that alone, couldn't be used because there's such an aversion to Jesus and his mother by people that aren't in fact possessed. They might be influenced, but they're not possessed. They just don't like Jesus.
But speaking in, I don't know, Aramaic or something might be a pretty big sign.
Well, I'll give you an example, because Father Martin was involved in this, and, it is going to be spoken about in the documentary coming out about him. There was a young child that he was dealing with. This child was about 4 years old when Father Martin first became involved in her case. And we were discussing it one day. I was asking him why God would allow children to become possessed, and Father Martin said it would be a chastisement towards the parents for not teaching the children about God. And he said to me that you're going to see an uprise in child possession in the future. He says, and I need you to look out for that. Specifically look for that. And then it was about another 4 years later, Father Martin had already passed. I got involved in this child's exorcism. I assisted Bishop McKenna and Father Romer in the exorcism. And we were basically looking to get proof for the Archdiocese of where this girl came from. Mm-hmm. So the Archdiocese can work with her because she came from another state.
Right.
During the exorcism, this 8-year-old little child spoke fluent Latin and also responded to questions in Latin that she couldn't have possibly known. Now, I could produce 8 children that are 8-year-old that can speak in Latin, write it, and they can understand it. But they've been trained in it since first grade. This child had no formal training in Latin whatsoever. She was Novus Ordo. She was a mainstream Catholic church. Okay. In the traditional Catholic Church, the children, the Mass is in Latin. So the children that attend the school, they know the response is in Latin from a young age because they're taught. So that would be one of the signs that we would be looking for. There's really no way that this 8-year-old can actually speak fluent Latin in that manner.
How did that case resolve?
Well, once it was actually passed on to the Archdiocese of where this girl lived, I lost track of the case. It wasn't mine. Okay. I was asked to assist in it. That's it. A lot of times I get a phone call and say, be at such a location. You're assisting at, we need you to assist. And I would ask how many do we need, and they'd tell me how many people they wanted, and I'd get them and we'd go.
The way you said what you said sort of tipped me off that, maybe Father Martin was preparing you for a time when he thought he might be gone. Do you think that could be?
Well, Father Martin said a lot of things to me that didn't make sense to me at the time, and they're making sense now. Mm. Father Martin dealt with a lot of people, and I'm sure that each person that he spoke to, there was something that was needed to be done, and he would have certain insights to those things, but he never really gave too much information on it. Well,
I say this because it sounds like he was preparing you to continue some aspect of his work, Ralph. Frankly, it does sound that way.
Well, I don't know. I think then we're all in trouble because, if that's the case, then we're at the bottom of the barrel. It is the end times. And, I would suggest, get a relationship with God. Don't rely on anybody else but God.
Do you think, by the way, you brought it up, so is it possible that things have gone so far out of kilter that we are knocking on the door of the end times here?
Well, I've become pretty good friends with some of Father Martin's friends that I've become acquainted with because of the documentary. And one of the things that I was told, a lot of puzzle pieces are being filled, by the way.
Right.
Right now for me with the people that I'm meeting and I've become friends with.
This is the British documentary you're referring to, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm going to be in that as well.
The Irish. Yes. Yes. I know that, and I spoke to Marty Stalker, and actually the day before he was coming out to interview you, I had called him and I says, hey, you need to find Art Bell and speak to him, and he says, we're interviewing him tomorrow. So I know Marty did his homework.
Oh, he did his homework. Trust me, he did it.
Yes.
His questions definitely proved that. Anyway, again, could it be we are closing in on the end times? I mean, as you look around the world, not just the U.S., but the world, there's just plain evil out there. I mean, you look at these ISIS people, the ones that might have just brought down this airliner, and the very center of their ideology, the very center of what they want, Ralph, is the end times.
Well, they want to dominate the world. We know that. And, we know that human nature, we're designed to be free. We're not designed to be plebs or told what to do, told what to think, told what to feel, told what to eat, told how to dress, told when to pray, told who to pray to.
Correct.
You get the point. That destroys people's humanity. And the only thing that could come out of that is not good. And when I look at the apocalypse according to St. John, which is the book of Revelations,
that's right.
I look at I listen to what the prophecies have made by the doctors and the saints of the church, the great visionaries, the holy people who were privy to certain information that we are not privy to because we're not holy enough. All of these things, they lead to where we're headed. They're at the end of the path, but in the same vein, if everything was written in stone, then I don't believe that Jesus would send his mother down like in the Fatima apparitions, Our Lady of La Salette, Our Lady of Guadalupe. If it was written in stone, then why would he send his mother here to tell us we can change all of that? And if we just did certain things, we would receive special graces where we would avert a lot of the things that we as men and we as human beings are pushing on ourselves, because it's not God that's doing it. It's us that's doing it, not him.
Well, is it? I mean, if the devil really does get into people and or his representative or a demon or whatever, in fact, we ought to really break that down a little bit. And even before we do that, you said you believed levels to what we talk about as heaven, or the afterlife. And you said you also believe there are levels, down below. Mm-hmm. What are those? Warm, hot, and fire?
Well, no, I believe it goes according to the way you've lived your life. You look at heaven and you say, okay, we have these virtues that we're given. Like if you're martyred, if you live a chaste life, you know, I don't. That's about all I know right now. And I look at the complete opposite. The flip side to the coin would be, okay, the levels of hell. What is a serious sin? Murder. You know, the willfully taking of another human's life, an innocent person.
Definitely.
I would have to say that, okay, so if you're martyred for God and you receive the first level, well, on the flip side of the coin is if you take somebody's life, well, guess what? You got the front row seat in hell. And I would correlate it that way. You know, and then you look at the second level is chastity. Well, the sins of the flesh would be the next sin on that list. And from what I know from Scripture and what the visionaries have said, the doctors of the church, is that the sins of the flesh are probably what's going to be the most crowded level.
Figures.
Is in that area, because the sins that are connected with, you know, the sins of the flesh, the passions of our Lord Jesus Christ was the scourging of his flesh. And I'm sure that Father Martin spoke to you about the Roman flagrum, you know, how they went about their torturous deeds of scourging a human being.
Yes.
Well, you know, you get yourself a little twig or a rope and try to hit yourself on the back, see how painful that is.
All right. Ralph, hold on. It's going to be rough stuff, folks. So a little warning to you. If this sort of thing scares you, you might want to tune out. I'm Art Bell, and this is Midnight in the Desert.
To initiate a dialogue sequence with Art Bell, please direct your finger digits and call 1-952-225-5278. That's 1-952. Call Art.
Very interesting. I get these messages from the wormhole as we go along with a guest, and here's a kind of a negative one. Patricia of Oakland says, your guest's understanding of good and evil is that of a child. No, not of a child, of a, I would guess, conservative Catholic, much as Father Malachi Martin was. Not a child's version of good and evil, but I get it. I so totally get it. So we were talking about the two levels of a good and evil, and of evil, taking of life would be at the top of the list. Now, just to clarify for me, Ralph, if, let's suppose that incident with the gun, the guy who shot you, that turned out differently, and you, to protect your own life, I mean, if you'd somehow got the gun back, and he yanked out a knife and he was charging you, and you shot him, that would be, of course, the taking of a life. So does that still get you to the same level, or is there some consideration for self-defense?
Well, yeah, it's an unjustifiable. I said the taking of an innocent life.
Okay,
somebody
good.
who's charging me is not innocent.
That's right. All right, good. Good to know. And the sins of the flesh part, I don't know, we can get into that, but I know I'm in trouble.
You and me both. There's no saint here. You're not talking with a saint. And yes, I am very childlike. I consider myself a child of God. Jesus tells us that we should approach him like children. So, yeah, I look at myself as a child. I like to feel like I have somebody else in control of things. Because if I'm in control, I know I'm going to mess them up somehow. I always do.
I have history too.
I just try to go through life as close to God as I can.
What is the difference, if you can define it, between a demonologist and an exorcist?
it's a title. We seem to be getting hung up on titles these days. I would rather not use the title demonologist, but when I get interviewed, people want to know, well, what is your title? I don't want to be known as a paranormal investigator. I don't want to be known as a ghost hunter. I'm not a demon hunter or a demon slayer. There is no such thing. We don't hunt demons. We're the ones that are hunted. We're the prey here. Yeah. So once you get that into your mind, maybe you'll understand the dynamic or the natural order of the supernatural and the preternatural, where we fit in that order.
We're the prey and we're the prize, right?
Well, yeah. Well, you know what? The devil doesn't look at us as a prize. He despises us. The only reason he comes after us is because of his hatred for God. He doesn't look at us as anything other than a way to get back at him.
Everything's got to be a war, doesn't it?
Unfortunately, but that's what heaven is. No more war.
Boy, do I hope you're right.
Well, according to my beliefs, there is no pain, there is no sin, there is no anger, there is no anything other than pure love, joy, and happiness in heaven.
I hope that's right.
I crave that. I really do crave that. I crave that for this world. I'm not going to be able to do it, and, the only one that could have done it failed, and he's much more greater than I can ever be. But I can still try to help individuals as much as I can. And that's what I do.
And that is what you do. You certainly believe that possession is real, that a person can be possessed, obviously. We've talked about that now. And we've also talked about the signs of a legitimate possession, as in talking in a language you couldn't possibly know. Another thing that Father Martin talked about that never will leave me for the rest of my life is the perfect possession discussion. Father Martin said he could walk by somebody on the streets of New York and he could just look at them in the eyes and he could tell that they were perfectly possessed, that they had made their deal for whatever with the devil, essentially, and whether it was for a woman, a man, a job, fame, fortune, whatever it is they wanted, they made that deal, and there they are walking along the street perfectly possessed, right?
Well, I can't do that. That's why I laugh when you say that I'm replacing him, because...
Oh, I didn't say you were replacing him.
Well...
I said that he was preparing you to continue your work.
I got you.
Right?
But you know what? I don't have that ability. He was something different. He was something very special.
Yes.
Not many people are called to do things the way he did them.
I'll say
there was a lot more to him than just exercising demons, and that'll be brought out when this documentary comes out, because there was so many levels and dimensions to that man.
I know people say there is no Father Martin, another one out there, and they're right about that, because trust me, we've looked and we have never found anybody anything like Father Martin. Not even close.
You never will.
I know.
You never will.
I now understand that, yes.
But that's the way it works. The more and more we push God out of society, the less and less he gives us. Now you have to really seek it on your own. And yes, you seek it childlike, yes.
Are there 3 stages of diabolical activity?
Yes.
What would they be?
The first stage would be the infestation. That's the external phenomenon happening at a location.
Right.
And then the next stage is a 2-part stage. It's an oppression and an obsession stage. One is an external attack, one is an internal attack. The oppression is basically, we consider the oppression being infestation on steroids. Things are completely out of control. in the house externally. But at the same time, there's usually a lot of influence, a lot of internalized attacks from the demonic to push people further into sin, further away from God, which leads into the third stage of possession. But there are demonic possession, which is pretty self-explanatory. But there are two other stages that are also involved. The initial stage would be an invitation. There needs to be some form of an invitation in order to bring that demon or allow that demon to enter into our plane of existence and actually manipulate our physical environment.
Okay, well, that would seem to run contrary to what you said earlier about the 5-year-old. Remember the 5-year-old?
No, you see, it was a 4-year-old and
4-year-old. Whatever.
Hey, continue what you're going to say.
What I'm saying is that you suggested to me that it was something done by the parents of that child.
Well, no, we got information about a family member. And I know you're familiar with this because you spoke to Father Martin about it. It was a family member that had created this invitation, which in fact opened that child up to possession. These stages, even though we have these stages, some of them can be skipped, just like the stages of exorcism. We might not get an infestation. We might go right into a possession, or we might go right into an obsession or an oppression.
Okay.
So we do know that an invitation needs to take place in order for that demon to come into our world and interact with it.
But apparently it doesn't have to be by the innocent who becomes possessed.
No, it does not. It could be invited by somebody else, which is very much the case of a person who buys a home. And the family that lived in that home prior to that might have been practicing Satanist, and they were doing rituals, and they invited a demonic spirit in. They could have been playing with tarot cards. They could have been playing with Ouija boards. There could have been other things: drug use, sexual abuse, domestic violence. All of these things can be draws for the demonic. Is a demonic going to come on the scene every single time these things, are done? No, it's not the case. But there are certain instances where it will happen. And
let's take the case of a Ouija board.
Mm-hmm.
They really scare me. I had a very bad experience that I never ever am going to discuss. But it's just a hunk of cardboard and a little wood thing you move around, and it really is nothing. So here we come back to this word intent. If it is the intent of the person to speak to a spirit, to speak to a dead person, or to speak to, actually, frankly, they don't most times have even a clue who they're going to speak to or who they are speaking to when they use it. So it's the intent of the person using it, of course, right?
Mm-hmm.
They could just as easily, I suppose, sit in a chair and simply wish to speak or to have somebody who has passed on come to them and have a discourse.
That's as simple as it can get. You do the same, we do the same thing when we pray. We sit and we pray and we make a connection.
That's right.
To who we're praying. We can sit in a chair and we can think about a person and make a connection to that person. How many times did you ever think about somebody and within the next 2 or 3 days they call you? It's happened to me numerous times.
Many.
You actually do make a connection to people. So, thought has form, thought has substance, and prayer is the same exact thing. So when you can pray for something good, and you can actually have the intention for something bad.
No, I do believe, Ralph, that we're connected. I think there's even science that backs it up. This quantum entanglement business would suggest that even particles can become entangled.
That we are going to have to leave Art Bell and company for the night. Come back tomorrow for part 2 of Ralph Sarchie and Art Bell on Demonology. With that, though, we will bring today's adventures from day one to a close. Like, share, and subscribe. Get us to those 50,000 views, 1,000 subscribers, so those red boxes can be coming your way. CoinBase and Ibotta, get your $10 free from both of those. And of course, until tomorrow, it's always a great new world to release the Krakens in each and every one of you. Like, share, and subscribe. Be kind to one another as we continue to march along here from day one. Have a great overnight and enjoy your good night's rest. We'll see you tomorrow for day 100.